It is now 6 p.m. and thank you for coming to the City of Brackettville regular council meeting. Today is June 11th, 2013. It is now 6 p.m.
Anyone wishing to address the council? Mayor Zandon Negretti.
Present.
Councilman Joe N. Burns Jr. Present. Councilman Frank O'Lears. Present. Councilwoman Rachel Munoz.
Present.
Councilwoman Patricia Chica Hernandez.
Present.
Councilman Andres Rodriguez. Mayor Zandon Paul.
Thank you. Will everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Communications, we have Ms. Rebecca Moore. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Moore. I'm here in regards to the renaming of James Street. I currently reside at 307 James Street, and I strongly oppose the renaming of the street. One, because it would affect me personally. Second, because James Street has one of the first establishments in King County, in Brackettville. So it's over 100 years old. And granted, I understand those who would like to rename it in honor of Dr. Lewis. However, I would like to suggest that maybe that they reconsider and naming the clinic, the building, in honor of Dr. Lewis. Again, I think recently this council supported and approved the revitalization plan, and I believe that plan deals with historical aspects of Brackettville and King County. So I strongly ask that you reconsider this proposal.
Thank you. Ms. Lydia Tips?
Council and Mayor, I'm Lydia Tips, and as you all know, we have a letter in regards to our request in your packet. And for most of you that are here, you know that Dr. Lewis has served this community for over 30 years, serving over four generations. He was there day and night when they needed him, going to the hospital to make his rounds. He served the school system very well, doing physicals for many, many years. So we hope that you do take this into consideration. And I'm going to give you the names of the persons that are requesting this. Freeman Juarez, Joe Duncan, Eddie Guajardo, Chief Householder, Michelle Cervantes, Liliana Garza, and Lydia Tips. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Tips. Ms. Mary Flores?
Good afternoon, City Manager, City Council, Mayor. I'm here because last week, if you remember, I gave you a letter, and I just want to know if you had time to read it and if you understood what it meant.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, have y'all made a decision on that?
No.
Okay, I will be in touch, and you can either contact me in person or by mail, which would be better, so I can know what was the result and take it from there. Okay?
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Flores,
Yes.
Are you requesting to be placed on the agenda?
Excuse me?
I got a copy of the letter.
Yes, I did.
We cannot act on it right now. It's not on the agenda. My question to you is, do you want this placed on the agenda?
I think it would be better. When is your next meeting?
Next month.
Okay. Can I have this time?
Just submit
Okay.
a letter in writing requesting to be put on the agenda, the topic you wish to discuss, and it will be on the agenda.
All right. I didn't ask that to put it in this week because all I wanted was a yes or no. But okay, we'll have it in the agenda for next month.
Thank you, Ms. Willis.
Hi, I'm Nancy Wiley. I'm here to make a statement about my feelings towards item number 9 on the agenda. And I think everyone here and a lot of people that aren't here know how amazing Dr. Luke's has been to the community. And certainly anyone who serves on the board does, or a memorial of some kind. However, I don't agree and highly hope requesting that you maybe offer another solution instead of changing the name of James Street to Dr. Luce Street. My husband and I own a couple of historic properties on that street. I think Rebecca does as well. She's here. The Methodist Church, of course, is here. But almost primary importance to myself is the physical front door of our courthouse, which is on the National Registry and as a historical designation, marker designation. It's a historic building, it's been designated that way with the front door as, I think, 100 James Street. And other smaller things would apply to, like a lot of my shipping addresses are James Street, 212 James Street, or 305 James Street. And that would be, kind of an inconvenience to me. And we are going to continue developing our historic properties on James Street. And to me, it's James Street. And I just know there's another solution to honor Mr. Lewis, Dr. Lewis. I'm sure that there is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 5, council committee.
Mayor, may I've been presented here letters of support from citizens, and this would be for item number 10 on the agenda.
They're all the same. They're just contrary.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes, sir.
is that a petition you're presenting to us, or are they individual?
No, sir, it's not a petition, sir. It is individual letters of support for item number 10, resolution 2013-0606. They're individual letters from individual citizens.
Are those citizens within the city of Brackettville?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'll read the letter and then the item comes up. Any some discussion?
Mayor, are
Yes,
we
sir.
on number 5?
Yes, you can, if you have anything to say, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would like to request of the mayor that she call and she take the initiative, if possible, to call a subsequent or a second meeting regarding the sales of water. I still have questions in my mind, and we never actually got to the revenue accountability portion of the presentation the other night. So, Mayor, you don't have to, but I would appreciate it if you would call a subsequent meeting to finish up that discussion. I still have some questions in my mind. If you feel like you can't do that, then I will try to get through the signature.
That's no problem. Just write down what it is that you want. Again, we can have a meeting and we'll set it up and we'll have the 72 hours to have that date.
So should I contact you to set it up?
That's fine. I can do that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Oh, I've got another thing. I just want to let the employees know of the city of Brackettville that this investigation, this presentation, or this inquest, whatever you want to call it, we're not questioning anyone's integrity. The employees were mentioned, not specifically by name, but employees in general. This is a presentation and investigation to solicit information and to obtain information that we have been asking for. I just got elected to the council, but I know a couple of the council members have requested it in the past. And there are many citizens out there that are concerned and have many questions about this situation. So, this is not a witch hunt. We're not after the employees. We're not questioning their integrity. We're not questioning, at least I'm not, we're not questioning their work ethic, their loyalty, their commitment to the city of Brackettville. We simply want information that's rightfully ours, not only as council members, but as concerned citizens of the city of Brackettville. So let me reiterate my position. We are not after the employees. We are after information that we are entitled to. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
I would like to make a comment on a personal note, just to thank everybody for all their prayers and thoughts for my father, and thank you all very, very much. Our prayers definitely what has been helping us, and so a big part of our thank you to all of you guys. He got out of ICU on Saturday, 29 days in ICU, so to have a really recovery, but thank God that he's done good. So thank God for your thoughts and prayers. And continue.
There were a lot of people praying, a lot of people concerned for your death. So we wish a speedy recovery.
Question, can I ask a question to Mr. Rodriguez? Did you ever get your stop sign that you requested down Soul Street?
We now move down 2 minutes. Item number 6. Discussion possible action to approve meeting minutes of May 21st, 2013, and special meeting June 4th, 2013. Has everyone had time to review these minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'm sorry.
Motion made by Alderman Ms. Munoz and second by Alderman Garza. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Move down to new business, item number 7, discussion possible action of debt moratorium of new industrial accounts.
Mayor, if I may, city attorney is just here.
You have a seat over there, thank you. This is Katrina Longoria. Mr. Morales is not able to attend.
Mayor, council, on item 7, moratorium for industrial accounts. I put this on the agenda because I have some concerns, and I wanted to share with the council the impact that this moratorium has had and may have in the future. We currently have a few of industries coming into Caney County that will require the service of water. Just a short example, there's a solar panel project coming in on the northeast end of town. So I believe it's 300 some odd acres. 40 of those acres are within the city limits. There is some upgrading that Rio Grande Electric is doing out there on that substation. There's also some interest been made known that out in the same vicinity of the current wind farm, there are possibility of 15 or so additional windmills put out there. And as I had mentioned before, throughout the time I've been here, our water levels in the city wells have not reached any level, anywhere near the level of concern as far as running out of water. I keep a close monitor. I monitor it very closely. The concern I have is that we have an opportunity before us to help the citizens. We have industry coming in. It helps everyone in the community. The restaurants, the gas stations, the grocery stores, the rental buildings that are out there. And most of all, it helps a number of citizens that are looking for work and can actually find work in Brackettville and King County. And as a good example was the wind farm up there. If you really look at the numbers, over, I would say, close to 60% of the non-skilled labor that was out there at the wind farm were local citizens. You see a few new pickup trucks around as a result of that. And you can ask some of the citizens that spent the 8-9 months out there. So not allowing new investment accounts will have a definite negative effect on the citizens. It's not just city administration, it's the entire community. And that includes the entire county, not just the city of Brackettville. Many people that live out in the county also were able to be successful and have positive results of the wind farming.
Mr. Garcia, when in the future, how soon in the future will we be seeing the solar panels? And
Well, I was going to put it in my manager's report, but the mayor and I had a meeting yesterday evening with the project managers of these solar panels, and they expect construction as early as September. They'd like to get it sooner, but that is one of their target dates. As far as the additional windmills, the wind farm, I don't have any dates on that. I just know that there's interest out there. There's some particulars being worked out that I'm not privy to. I just know that they're out there.
rumors have it it's 14.
Yeah.
It'll be here going on.
And quite frankly, the reason for that is, the report is that the energy produced out of there is about almost 2.5 times what they expected it to be. So it is a good spot.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Okay.
Item number 15 is an item that I requested Mr. Garcia that he place on the agenda, which he very kindly did. It's in direct conflict with the item that he just read. Item 15 reads, consider act implementing by council action an immediate moratorium for an indefinite period of time on any further sales of water unless explicitly approved by the council. That's item 15 down the line. I just want to make you aware.
If the council pleases, you can address both items.
I think it would be a good idea to address both at the same time. We can suspend the rules.
Go ahead. You may.
How are we doing as far as I know we get the report every month on the statement of revenues and expenses. How are we doing? Are we generally not doing good enough?
Yes, sir. To be very perfectly honest with you, we are in fact live on paycheck to paycheck, if you will. When money comes in, we pay bills. We get money from recycling metal, we apply it to the bills. And the main focus that we have that our accounts payable clerk does is always make sure that we have the funds for payroll, both council and employee payroll. So that is the priority, and then as we get the bills and pay those bills. Sometimes I get a packet of 60, 70 invoices for me to sign checks on, that those are bills that we're paying. Sometimes we do it at one, 2, or 3, wherever the money is available, we pay for that.
Mr. Garza, I had a question on your item. Is this also referring to residential accounts? When someone new comes and opens a residential account, they can't open it? Okay, it's just industrial.
Domestic intercity use, and strictly and explicitly refers to,
Industrial
commercial,
accounts.
industrial sales that pertain to customers from outside that are exporting water. That has nothing to do with domestic.
It wasn't stated on the item. That's why, it wasn't stated on the item, that's why I asked.
Well, we have a commercial restriction on commercial being the business, right? And people being very safe. Why would we want to 60 sales to them?
Are you referring to me? Are you asking me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh,
I mean, I understand industrial issue, and I want to speak on that a little bit more in a little bit. But why would we mess with our commercial people right here?
No. My intent is not to curtail any sales to inner city, and transport it to Swafford, to the wind farm, or wherever it's going. That's my area of concern. I think if people need 500,000 gallons of water, then they should get it. We're a business, established business here within the community. I think it contributes to the positive aspect of the economy of this community, and that's what I'm trying to do. But by no means am I referring to them.
I myself, the idea of jobs is very important to me. I mean, it's just that the jobs are very important. The idea of losing them because we're not helping with the water when it's needed, it's bothersome. To me, as long as there is accountability and we ask questions because citizens are concerned that we are given the answers to be able to respond to our citizens. That is my main concern, because we want jobs, and it did help a lot of people in the community, but there's got to be accountability.
Let me clarify one further point. I have no concern, in actuality, my concern is not so much showing water outside, so much as it is the accountability of this process, and to make sure that our water supply is not going to be depleted anytime soon as a result of such sales. But what brought on my agenda item of last week, report on the sale of water, was, in my opinion, a lack of accountability. I will oppose this simply because I don't feel that this time I have seen the accountability for all these sales that I want to see. I know we've sold millions of gallons of water, but where's the accountability? And I'll just leave it at that because I'm not prepared to go beyond this point at this time.
As far as accountability, it seems to be, I don't know what the interpretation of the word of some of the councilmen, but the accountability is there. It was presented to you last time. As far as some council members say, hey, money coming in that doesn't know where it's going. There is a paper trail a mile long. You're welcome to come and look at it anytime you want. There are bank statements. There are receipts. there are canceled checks, there are bills, invoices, every deposit, every dime we get with respect to grants, any money that comes in from any source is accounted for in that office in more than one way. We have the bank statements, we have the canceled checks, we have the deposit slips, we have postage records, everything that is there, and you're welcome to come and look at it anytime you'd like. So the accountability is there. Whether it's the information, it's not the information that you would hope to see, I can't help that. But it's all there, and it's all factual. I understand the issue with water and the citizens' concern about running out of water. Well, I believe that I have more than taken care of that particular issue. As I will mention again, the second month that I was employed here, I started measuring those wells on a weekly basis. 6 months later, I went to daily basis. During some concern times that I had the first year I was here, I was measuring twice a day. And just for your information, that well is not only measured by the employees of the city, they are also measured by our water operator, and he measures that somewhere between 12 and 12:30 on a daily basis. So there's more than enough data to show what I've been saying all along, that we have never, since I have been here, reached a point of any concerns that what I would have to incorporate stage 1 of the drought mitigation plan. We have not received that, got anywhere near that. So that should answer the concerns of council and in fact the citizens, because it is a fact. I was asked what the depth of those wells were. At the time I didn't have the information. Now I do. I mentioned it at the last meeting. The well behind the school district is 1,200 feet. The well behind City Hall is 832 feet, I think is what it is. So, and we measure, like I said, we measure those on a daily basis. The data is available. Matter of fact, I've been sharing the data with the groundwater district for quite some time. And it's just recently that the groundwater district actually acknowledged the fact that the information had been there and had always been provided. So it's not any secret. Everybody knows, and matter of fact, any citizen that may have a concern can certainly come in and ask me. I have 3 or 4 individuals that come by on a monthly basis and want to see the well levels, and they're provided.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
the report that we got last week, in my opinion, was not adequate in terms of accountability. Now, this subsequent meeting, on this follow-up meeting, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to have, if you have all that information that you just alluded to, I would love to see it. I would love for you to prepare a packet. Matter of fact, I would word the agenda as such. And I would like it. A packet, I don't care if it's 1,000 pages long, but I'd like to see it. Thank you. I will give you the opportunity to present that information.
This issue has always been, it's always been business. Of course, we all want to conserve water. At the same time, us as a city council would like to figure out a way to pay our bills. And I don't know what that solution is. Just thinking out loud, maybe we can do something to, maybe we can making sure that we won't really affect the person or the water resources here. So we can move forward and continue to pay our bills and have water for us in the future. I'm not sure, I don't know what the solution is, but maybe, you know, if we put our heads together and figure out a way to do this. We have to pay our bills, we have to keep it going. And I'm not sure, maybe if we go into an industrial down the road, if we put a cap on it and don't let it get wild, we let it just take, formulate the counts, maybe put a cap of 100,000. Just throwing it out there.
The only problem with that would be if a business needs water, which a business needs, they're gonna need that water. But once we make a commitment, like Mr. Arloyo there told us last time, once we make that commitment, we really need to live up to it. Or it's gonna scare off business, because we're gonna be, do something, have step.
Right.
The water would be, so maybe.
Yeah, and you can make commitments to whatever capital said, or whatever you say.
If I may address Mr. Rodriguez, I agree with you in the sense that it's, to pay our bills, it's more than just water sales. It has a domino effect, if you will. You have industries coming in, you provide the public service that the city of Brackettville does by providing the water to the citizens. Those industries come in, they have permanent people here. They either build houses, rent here, or buy here, they stay. They have their kids go to school. While the project is going, you have, for example, at the solar panel farm, when it starts, we were told yesterday evening, at the peak of their construction, they're going to have 250 employees at the peak of that construction. So if I were a restaurant owner, I'd be ordering some extra tickets to write down the meal orders because I'm going to have a lot of people in it. And they'll be here for quite some time. So all of this comes into play when you're looking at providing services as a city. And it all costs money. And so it is all various aspects of it. And if it requires, say, for example, to make people comfortable that there's a cap, this is what we attempted to do when we amended the ordinance and added the industrial rate. There had never been an industrial rate on this, and we amended it to, in fact, help and curtail some of what we would call malicious and active or excess use of water. Those companies that come in, they start adding up the dollars that it would cost them. They're going to be, they're going to watch their use also. And that was one of the reasons, and that might be the first step. But we certainly work, we'll miss that opportunity. You can see when the wind farm was here, our sales tax for the time that they were here almost doubled. We were getting anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 a quarter of sales tax under normal conditions. When the wind farm was here, it jumped. I saw one check come in for $16,000. That's a big jump. Of course, it didn't last very long, but as a result, there are 4 families from the wind farm that actually moved here from out of state, or in the process of purchasing homes and the kids going to school. If we keep going in that route, we will be able to provide more services and in fact better.
Mr. Garza, do you have a motion?
If we're ready,
So is there any more discussion? Go ahead.
I will make the motion, and I move that we extend the moratorium that is currently in place on the industrial sales to include commercial and agricultural. Now, this is the water that's going outside of the city limits of Brackettville. This is not for inner city investigation. Has nothing to do with that. My motion applies strictly to industrial, commercial, agricultural water that's going outside the confines or the boundaries of this community.
Do I have a second?
What if we have, can I ask something? Why are we, again, why are we doing commercial?
Well, if you will, let me add something to my motion, then I will try to answer your question. In addition to my motion, I'd like to add that if any sales are to take place, they are to be made directly, the requisition is to be made directly to the city council. Now, that can include commercial, which does not include commercial in town. I'm talking about any type of commercial outside.
Do I have a second? I do have a second. It's tabled.
It's, the motion dies in lack of a second.
To let the moratorium pass?
No, you didn't have a second. There was no second.
Yeah, no, but
He's asking.
his recommendation, we haven't acted on
You
it.
have two items that were discussed. There was item 15 died for lack of a second.
Yes.
Now you have to bring up item number 7. There was a joint discussion on it.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the next moratorium of industrial accounts?
Yeah, I think we should table this for further discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Michael James to have item number 7 tabled and seconded by Alderwoman Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, none opposed.
We have time to discuss this. We do need to discuss it.
Yes.
We can discuss it at the special meeting, we can include that.
Yes, sir. Item number 8, discussion possible action, offer made by Ms. Mayrita Talamantes regarding purchase of real property known as Brackettville, Block F, Lot E2, all of 7, offered the sum of $500, purchase of said property.
I don't see Ms. Talamantes present, but I will. In your packets, you have a appraisal district information sheet, and you also have, I believe, there's a little plot map of where the actual location of that property is. It would be west of, it's off of El Paso on the north side, just adjacent to the Los Norris Creek there. So it's a lot and probably about, I would say a lot and a half.
As I said, would that be the lot right next to that church?
Yes, sir.
That's what I
That's
thought.
exactly it.
Do we need this property for anything? No.
Mayor, Council, I've just been advised by legal staff that our procedure that we've been doing other properties before is not proper, that we should at least put a notice in the newspaper prior to taking action. So I would suggest that we table this till the next meeting. In the meantime, I will.
I'm sorry, are we even interested in selling this property?
That's strictly up to the council. What it does, it puts it on the tax rolls. Right now, it sits on
We're not using it at all.
no, sir. The one time that we used it was to store the materials that was as a result of the taking of Beaumont Street. But then we've since removed it, and we have to use. I will put this on the agenda for next month, and I will have a notice in the newspaper.
Do we have a motion on the floor, Mayor?
To table?
Do we have a motion?
Not yet. Would you like to
I will so move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Garza, second by Ms. Fernandez. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Item number 9, discussion possible action request by United Medical Center staff to rename James Street to Dr. Lewis Street in honor of Dr. Lewis for over 30 years of service to this community.
I do appreciate the citizens that come up and talk about Dr. Lewis. I do respect Dr. Lewis. He treated me various times. Most of the time he told me I was overweight. But I do think that we should honor him. And I can see both sides of the equation here. I'm not sure that I would like to rename James Street being such, because that street also falls within the historical boundaries of what we're trying to do here. If we can preserve that will work out. But we should probably find a different way to honor Dr. Lewis.
Does anybody know who James was? Jesse James or somebody? I have the name of it. I'm trying to look it up.
I couldn't find any information either. If I may offer the council alternative you might want to think about is, and we can't take action on it tonight, but you know that alley that is between the old post office or the Masonic Lodge and the Sheriff's Department, or the right behind the Sheriff's Department and the courthouse. Okay, that's known on the map as Cook Alley, and I'm told that Dr. Luce, that's the route he would take to get to the clinic. He'd make a left on McCann and go up Cook Alley and park and get spotted at the clinic. It's only a suggestion. There's actually no addresses there. The courthouse has a different address, the Sheriff's Department has a different address. The clinic faces James Street, and then on the south side you have a vacant lot and the Sheriff's parking lot. I just offer that as an alternative if you want to look at that.
Mr. Moore, do you have any information on James Street? Sure.
Keep James Street, but make it like in memory of Dr. Lewis or something like that. So I don't want to downgrade the guy to a freaking alley. I think he did a hell of a lot more than that for the city.
We would rename that, if that was something, it would become a street rather than an alley.
I share Mr. Elias's question regarding the gentleman's question. James, who was he? Who was it named after, or is it just in a name? Is it just a name? If it's just a name, I don't understand.
I don't have an answer, sir. I couldn't locate any historical information.
But the courthouse is actually Ann Street, is it not?
That is correct, sir.
Dr. Lewis did serve this community for a long time. He was the only doctor in town. And he does deserve some kind of recognition. I don't have a problem with this myself, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with renaming the street after Dr. Lewis. At least we know who he is. We don't know who James is. I hope it might be named after Jesse James.
Would the name change affect the downtown realization, the grant we like to get in the historic district?
Well, that doesn't go to that thing, what we're talking about.
Because the James Street's involved.
Well, I'll tell you what, are we through with the discussion? And I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
I'll make a motion that we rename the street, currently named James to Dr. Lewis Street, in honor and memory of phenomenal contributions that he made to this community.
Do I have a second? Motion made by Mr. Garza and second by Mr. Hernandez Rodriguez. All in favor? Gina? Yeah. All in favor, none opposed.
Motion passes, correct?
Yes, sir, it does. We now move down to item number 10. Discussion possible action, resolution 2013-06-06. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Brackettville, Texas, authorizing the submission of the City of Brackettville application for funding through the Texas Department of Agriculture Downtown Revitalization Program, and authorizing the city manager to act as city executive officer and authorizing representative in all matters pertaining to the city participation in the Texas Capital Fund project.
Mayor and council, at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Carl Esser to give you great detail on the project.
Council members, members of the audience.
Mr. Esser,
Yes,
I'm gonna have to ask you to speak into the mic because I don't hear very well.
I'll try to do better.
Please do.
All right. A couple of months ago, I contacted the city and told them that there was a window of opportunity that was currently existing to where the city could apply for funds to revitalize the downtown area. And the opportunity exists currently. The deadline to apply for these funds is July the 17th. There was a webinar conducted by the state agency, the Texas Department of Agriculture. They are the lead agency in these projects. This is actually called a Texas Capital Fund project. Sort of the same pot of monies that I was here last week talking about. Kind of the same umbrella, but a little different pot of monies. They still come from the same agency, the same federal agency, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So the state agency did conduct a webinar about a month ago, and did contact the city for them to sit in on that. They had to register, be eligible to do that, and to my knowledge, I believe that the city did take advantage of that to be able to, but we have to travel, to go to a training and to go to a workshop, they're actually able to do that online at the webinar. This process is a very competitive process. The state agency, TDA, they will set aside $1.2 million worth of funds for this fiscal year 2013. That $1.2 million worth of funds will fund 8 applications. The maximum funding request is $150,000 that a city can apply for, and then we emphasize that only non-entitlement cities are eligible to apply for these funds. A non-entitlement city is a city of under 50,000 in population and is not large enough to get a direct entitlement from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. So it is very competitive. You may ask yourself, well, why would Brackettville want to do this? Well, I think there's a number of things we can probably, debate on that all evening. Obviously, I think it's a no-brainer. Brackettville needs to be revitalized. There's a lot of activities there that can emphasize that and possibly begin the process of revitalizing the downtown area. Are these funds going to fix everything? Absolutely not. There's no way. You can inject $1 million downtown Brackettville and not even fix everything. But it is a start. You may say, well, why is Brackettville eligible to apply for these funds? Well, one of the main criteria is to apply for these funds is to eliminate the slum and blight conditions in the downtown area. You may ask yourself, that's kind of pretty strong words. Well, why would you consider the city of Brackettville being blighted? Well, you can just walk right here on Main Street, and you can see the vacant stores and the vacant buildings down there, and that's a blighted condition. So whatever we try to do to make improvements there in the downtown area, hopefully it will revitalize that part of town to where possibly somebody would come forward and maybe want to open up a business in one of those vacant buildings there. And that would eliminate the blighted condition there in that area. What we propose, and I apologize, I only got one color map. My color printer went down before I got here tonight. Kind of explains a little bit more. Black and white doesn't really do justice. I'm going to pass that around here to the council. Y'all can take a look at that. And there are a couple edits, a couple of corrections that we're going to make on that map. We got a couple of the streets named incorrectly, and those corrections were actually made prior to when I left the office. But like I said, my color printer was maybe out in space somewhere. It's going down. Maybe we didn't get back online before I left. And Henry had printed the black and white ones. But what we've done, we did have an engineer, Eddie Bogard, the city's engineer for TRC, the firm that's engineered a number of projects for the city. Visited the city, I think it was prior maybe even to the webinar about that same time. And he was in the general vicinity of this part of the state and spent a day here walking the streets and coming up with some suggestions. And let me emphasize that this is just an application. This is just a plan. There's nothing concrete, nothing definite to where it could be modified and could be changed a little bit. The application is very in-depth. There's a time the city would submit this. It'll be in a 3-ring binder. There might be 100 pages thick. There's a lot of information that has to go into this application. We're going to need, or I say we, as a company, is going to need the assistance of people here in the community to help us with this application. We need to identify all the historic buildings downtown, when they were constructed, what they've been used for, what different businesses have been in those facilities over the, say, last 100 years. So we're going to need help in that, in obtaining that information. There's a number of ways that the city can enhance their position with this application. I did mention that, first of all, the city received 5 extra points because of their size. They're under 5,000 population, so they automatically get 5 extra points for that. There's a number of different ways. There's a lot of demographic information. There's a lot of economical information, a lot of census information that we will put into the application. That information is rather easy to access on the internet these days. We've identified over 70% of the funds to be used for sidewalk improvements or ADA compliant activities. You may have some areas down there right now that are not ADA compliant, and these funds could be used to rehabilitate that and make those areas ADA compliant. So you can receive additional points there. You can receive additional points also getting letters of support from the local historical commission, Chamber of Commerce, the businesses within a 1-block radius of the project area. And you can also get additional points by leveraging, okay? I will say that to be eligible to apply, the city automatically has to contribute a 10% cash match, which would be in the amount of $15,000. That's a standard criteria. You cannot apply unless you do that. And there's other ways that you can enhance your position by doing additional leveraging. and we've identified that the city workforce, the city crew, do some activities there throughout the project as an in-kind match to where you can gain additional points on your application. Last year, there were 30 applications that were submitted to the state agency, and only 8 got funded. And I would like to brag a little bit to say that the #1 application was submitted last year. So we know what we're doing. We take this very seriously.
Sir, I got one question. Once we receive this money, who's gonna be the administrator of that money? Because, there's been a lot of questions about who's controlling, who gets what jobs and all this and all that and stuff. So, I mean, if we're gonna match, the citizens are gonna match that money, I want some kind of accountability that, you know, it's not going to the project, it's not going out of town, it's not going to work right there.
That's a very good question.
I mean, I read this, and I know it's very, very strict on it.
Right. That's a very good question, and I'll answer it this way, is that these are federal funds. There's a lot of strings attached to these monies. You gotta jump through a lot of hoops to be able to use them. You gotta jump through a lot of hoops to even get awarded the funds. And then after you're awarded the funds, then you gotta jump through a lot of hoops to implement the project. There's a procurement process that you have to have in place. Being you're using federal funds, and the city will be hiring an outside administrator to do that. There are $15,000 that are identified that the state allows each applicant to identify 10% of the application, $15,000 to hire an administrator to administer the project.
So $10,000 of that, $15,000 will go to pay for an administrator?
$15,000 of the $150,000 to go to pay for an administrator, that's correct.
Okay, Mr. Asher, about the $6,000 cash match, for special engineering, that's 15,000 plus the 6,000?
That is correct.
And
Now,
then there's also 30,000 in kind, $30,000.
that is correct.
Is that where employees will come in and help
Yes.
defer that, or do we need the 30,000?
You need 30,000 to get all the points. If you match 30% of the total grant or more, you get the additional points. And I'll just be real honest, if you don't get the additional points, you will not get funded. It's that competitive. So there's a number of applicants out there that are going to match and do everything they can to enhance their position because it is so competitive. So if you don't go at it with that sort of a mindset, you will not get funded. The application will not get funded. It's that competitive.
Mr. Esser, who owns those buildings in question? I'm referring to those 3 or 4 buildings on Ann Street. That would be on the east side, right across from the old CP&L building where the old bank used to be. Who owns those buildings?
You have to find that out in the appraisal district. I cannot answer that tonight.
Well, are we talking about refurbishing those buildings?
These funds are not being used to do any rehabilitation on any building, strictly for sidewalks or other infrastructure improvements. You cannot spend $1 of this money to rehabilitate any of those buildings.
So the total cost to the taxpayers of the city of Brackettville will total $51,000, 30 being in kind, correct?
That is correct.
Well, we got talking just a while ago about not being able to pay our bills without hearing things. Somebody mentioned that we were having a hard time paying our bills.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What we need to do is,
And that would be an act to match 21,000 in cash and 30,000 in kind, but for all practical purposes, it's cash, because you gotta pay for it. Whether, it's in kind, but it still comes from the city, it comes from the taxpayer.
That is correct.
So we're looking at $51,000 that we have to match.
Can that be made payments, or does it have to be the full amount?
Let me explain the in-kind, I'm not sure y'all understand that. The in-kind match is you already got an employee that you're paying them every week, okay? And so whatever amount of work that they can inject into the project, say they were going to remove part of the existing sidewalk, say you're going to put a ramp in a sidewalk where there's where it's not ADA compliant, you need to remove some of that sidewalk. Well, the city could actually do part of that during their regular time, during the day when they work, and that could be considered the in-kind match.
My point is that it's still an expenditure that the city will have to put in.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
But it's not necessarily a dollar amount up front, though, right?
I'm sorry.
It's not necessarily a dollar up front. It's not dollar per dollar, do it in kind.
You're correct. You have those people on staff, the time that they work towards the project could be counted towards in-kind, would be actually, I mean, you are paying them, but it's not like additional cash that you're injecting into the project.
So we'll need $21,000.
Yes. 15,000 for the engineering and 6,000 for the project ready to be surveyed. They'll actually bring the crew out, probably spend 2 days to survey all the project here.
There are other programs that we can take advantage of to help us with this amount,
With the match.
right?
Well, I would think, my suggestion to you on that would be to think outside the box.
Right.
I think there's a lot of ways to raise that money.
One of the problems is, and I'm addressing everybody here and all the citizens, a lot of citizens have told me that we have a lot of projects that have been started and never finished, i.e. the gas lines. You know, I said, well, let me go up there and see what you're talking about. And I go up Gulf Street, I see a gas line sticking out of the ground. I go down to 3rd Street, and there's holes that don't with gas lines sticking out of the ground. There's a lot of citizens that are concerned that we're going to start something and not finish it. You know, and there's businesses over there, that are selling down there that's being affected by those areas that are still unfinished. And we're already taxing people for all the gas lines. That $25 surcharge to keep us always bringing up. Right? And this project is still not finished. And we're still charging everybody that has gas an additional $25 for a project that's not being finished. And a lot of citizens have that concern. A lot of citizens. I'm not just putting stuff out of mind. Asking citizens again, give us some money so we can do something. And the citizens are like, oh, Mr. Rodriguez, why don't we finish something we started first? You know? And we'll put the citizens first.
I have a very difficult time with the matching funds. We haven't put into the trash, I'm gonna be able to with it. So my vote will come as no surprise to you. I have a very difficult time imposing upon the taxpayers a matching amount of $21,000. And that's just the beginning. We're still committing to $30,000. And even though it's in kind, but it's still going to be an expenditure for the taxpayers. I have a very difficult time expending that kind of money, or even committing, expending and or committing funds of that nature, of that amount at this time.
It worries me that I just heard that we're having a hard time paying our bills. And so how are we going to come up with $21,000 and then 30 more? I don't understand it. If someone out there has any ideas, please share them with us.
I'm sorry. We sold all this water, right? And we still having problems paying the bills, and we sold all this water. And this is money that was not accounted for, you know? So that's going to be a surplus. Some of the fish should have been paid off. And still, we're having problems paying our bills. We need is another workshop to see what the heck's going on. Because we budgeted a certain amount of money. And now we're saying we can't pay the bills.
I do not disagree with you.
You understand?
I said I do not disagree with you.
Mr. Ashton,
Yes.
who's reading the speak?
Yeah, I was wanting to kind of iterate a little bit about the timeline. The application deadline is July 17th. The city, if they were successful, or even if they were unsuccessful in their application process, the announcements will probably be made during the month of October this year as to those applicants that were successful in being funded. If you were successful in being funded, you would probably see a contract between the city of Brackettville and the Texas Department of Agriculture, probably by the end of this year, maybe at the first of 2014. Once that contract, once the city would see that contract, bring it back to the council to accept it, send it back to the state, time it's fully executed, at that time the clock starts ticking, you got 24 months to complete the project. You would probably not actually see, there's a lot of hoops you gotta jump through, there's just a lot of things that's gotta take place, the project would have to be environmentally cleared, and if you received your contract in January 2014, you very well would not see any construction until January of 2015. You got 24 months, you have till January of 2016 to complete the project. All these projects are 24-month contracts. So with these grants, everything really moves really slow. It's not a real quick process. So it's not something you think, well, you know, we can have a new sidewalk down there by the end of the year. I'll be honest and say you probably wouldn't have a new sidewalk down there by January 1st, 2015 at the very least.
So that would give us an opportunity to save up for that money.
Give you plenty of opportunity.
I thought that money had to be reserved at the time of the application. Or just a commitment for the money.
Just-
Commitment. I think that money had to be already reserved. That's,
So it's stating committing the required amount to be matched. So we're making a commitment now, and then when the time comes, we can have it by the time the project's complete. Mayor, if you also recall when they did paving around the school, we needed some extra funds, and we had several general city contributors as long as we're on the same page. I agree. I believe it's a great thing to do. If we have time to be able to save these funds before the contract is complete, then I think we should go with it. I think we should try to do what's better for the community, to make the community enhance it, get it better. So I think this is a great idea. I don't know if the council agrees with me,
what about the
but
ongoing project that we have? That'd be a great thing to finish too. The ongoing project that we got.
we're not discussing one project right now, we're discussing this project. This is what's on the agenda right now. I don't know.
So when you know the ongoing projects, it would be nice to finish those before we start something new. Because this thing we can do every year. It's an annual program. Yeah, we want to get started, but we also want to finish what we started.
Do I have
Sounds
any?
like they're just having to think outside the box. We don't have to have this kind of flex. We have a little bit of flexibility.
So July 17th, to submit the application. I'll make a motion for it. You make a motion to approve? I have a motion to approve by Alderman Jimenez. Do I have a second? And a second by Alderman Rodriguez. All in favor? Opposed, Mr. Andreas, Ms. Munoz, and Mr. Guerra. You are opposed, correct? The motion is not passed.
Thank you.
Discussion possible action, leadership workshop offered by John and Diane Britton.
thank you for having me again this week. What I wanted to do was offer our services to give some training. Let me give some background as to why. And the sheet I just handed you out, we are progressing ahead with the application for the Main Street program. As part of the Main Street application, the council needs to sign a resolution, and it's the resolution that I just handed out. And this resolution needs to be included in the package. And you can see that part of that resolution includes funding a Main Street manager and having a budget commitment. Not altogether different than what Mr. Esser just presented. The concept here is different. The concept is that the Partners for Progress nonprofit that we created last month, which is a 501 or will be a 501c3, the idea is that we will raise tax-free money through donations from outside the city of Brackettville. And we will give that money to the city to fund the administration of all the work that comes in through Main Street. So it will pay for a Main Street manager. It would pay for the manager that Mr. Esser was asking about. It will pay for matching grants. It's a perfect way to go about doing this. It's his idea of thinking out of the box. The catch on it is that people that are going to give us $70,000 or $80,000 a year are going to want accountability of their money. Where did it go? What did it get spent for? Where do I get my monthly report? And if we're going to move ahead of this, with this as a city, then we're going to have to put some systems in place and some structures in place that provide that accountability and provide that transparency. And that's what Diane and I are offering. This is the kind of things that we did all of the time in the corporate world to get ourselves to solve the same kind of problems that you guys are looking at today. So we would propose a session, a series of sessions. My guess right now is it would probably be 4 4-hour sessions, so a total of like 16 hours, broken into 2 main categories. One being what I call here leadership, and the leadership session is really getting you functioning as a group. So it's establishing a statement of what you are, what you're for, how you perform. So essentially a mission statement for the council. It then will get into very details about roles and responsibilities. What is the role of the mayor? What is the role of the council persons? What is the role of the city manager? How do they conflict with each other? And then from there, go on to develop things like a conflict of interest policy and a code of ethics that we can give to the people of Brackettville. And if you look on the Partners for Progress website next week, you will see a code of ethics and a conflict of interest policy. We're starting off that way right from the beginning. Those are the kinds of things that investors are going to look at and say, I feel comfortable giving you my money. The second half of this I call operational planning. And that, a good example of what comes out of this is what I see you guys struggling with on the water side. There's a lot of unknowns. And a lot of those unknowns are as a result of you as a council have not set minimum standards. You have not set minimum water levels for those wells. You have not demanded a certain fixed reporting system, and Mr. Garcia has not told you whether or not the systems that are in place are capable of providing that data. So what we would do in this session, and I would imagine it's 3 out of the 4 sessions, is talk about what the problems are today, what kind of solutions we could have for the problem. Talk about the details of the budgeting process. Look at the system requirements you have. I know you operate off QuickBooks now. I can assure you if we get Main Street, QuickBooks won't cut it. We've got to have, you have to have a
management system that allows you to manage individual product costs, not just on the general ledger accounting system, QuickBooks is a general ledger accounting system. So those are the kinds of things we would go through and then set performance measurement standards. What kind of performance standards you want. Mr. Garza, that gets to your comment on accountability. You can't measure accountability if you don't have a target to measure things. And what we would do in these sessions is we would create those targets that you would hold the city manager accountable to, and then provide the systems to be able to make sure that he gives you the information you need, because you're accountable to the citizens. If you as a council are accountable to the citizens, he as a city manager is accountable to you. And what this process does is it sorts that out so that it really becomes clear as to how those things are either done correctly or done incorrectly. And I think that without this, that we will not in any way be successful in the Main Street program, because it's every bit as competitive as what Mr. Usher said. If we get the Main Street program, and if we get a process in place where we can fund the administration by giving money to the city, then the next time he comes up and asks you for matching funds, you just come to Partners in Progress and say, do we have the money to match $21,000? So that's the out-of-the-box way we do this. And as Mr. Garcia was saying, we get businesses into town, your sales tax revenue goes up, it starts to bring money after a while. So today you do not need to act on that resolution. You do need to act on it before we submit the application, which is due the 31st of July. Today, I'd simply like to know whether you're going to take us up on our offer to do some training. I would propose we do it in September and October. It's going to take us a couple of months to put this together to where I think we can do it and do it efficiently. So that's our proposal at no cost to the city. If you want out and hire this done, it costs you $20,000 to $30,000.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Anybody have any discussion? I think it's a great idea, kind of get us all together, to work together and do things. Anybody else? We'll now go down to item number 12, discussion possible action, interlocal cooperation agreement between Kenny County Sheriff's Office and Brackettville Police Department for access to Texas law enforcement telecommunications system.
Mayor and Council, this is just a standard interlocal agreement between the County Sheriff's Office and the Police Department. Allows the officers to access needed data that is both state and nationwide when you stop and they're doing any investigation. It gives them authorizes them to access, and it also states should it cost the city anything or the Sheriff's Department additional monies because we're there, they will determine what that is and in fact fair share representing. I'm not saying that there will be, but that agreement also covers that. Anything additional?
Not unless you have any questions.
As far as the operation of that, I have the chief answer that, because I've not been in law enforcement, so I don't know exactly what this database has in it.
The current process is a radio transmission to the Sheriff's Office dispatch. In order for the state did it, the Sheriff's Office actually does it. They have the in-car computers. They can access 27s, 28s, driver histories, license plate histories, and the state is not currently allowing any in-car or mobile data terminals to access criminal histories. Okay. So what I do when I stop a car is I run the 28 or the license plate. That gives me some information. I make contact, if the driver's license go back, then I call dispatch driver history to ensure he's not wanted. This system allows me to do that in car on the computer that already exists. Because of the security of individuals accessing the state of Texas database, there's certain parameters that have to be met. We as a city cannot fund something like that. We just can't. It's an astronomical cost to get it up and running. It involves satellites and several other issues. The sheriff's office does have it in place. The state of Texas does allow outside departments who cannot fund something like that to utilize departments that have it in place. This is just what y'all have, the interlocal agreement is just an agreement between me and the sheriff to allow me to use his system. And I run into conflict because I'm a lot of times thought as a subdivision of the sheriff's office, but in essence, it would be like one. Manny has the access in his car to run driver's license. I would have the same access that Manny has in my car. You see, does that make sense?
Do I have any other questions?
I did. Is there a page missing here?
I do not have a copy of that, Mr. Gardner. I'm not sure.
Page missing. Jim?
Any reason not to have a local agreement, if it works out for our benefit and they're willing to go out, that's a great idea. Do I have a motion?
Did the sheriff's department, obviously you talked to them.
It's already gone before the commissioner's court, and they've signed off on it.
So they just need.
They've approved it, because it went through the commissioner's court. We felt that it should come through y'all.
Let me ask you, did the commissioner's court approve this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, he said that they just approved it and now he wanted to bring it to our attention, so that is approved also.
Why did it go to the commissioner's court before it came to us?
Because it's an interlocal agreement.
Huh?
It's an interlocal agreement.
I understand that, but we're initiating it. Isn't it initiated with us?
Well, it really,
It's a matter of protocol.
If they would have said no,
yeah,
you would have just pointed out,
it relies on them to since they own the system, it would be required for them to even, for them to say, yeah, we want to agree with it or not, before we can take any action. We can take any action we want, if they deny it, they own the system.
The reason I'm asking this because anytime we've done this, in my capacities, we've always started with the initiating party instead of going to the receiver, you know. That was my question. But you say that the county has already approved it?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and do it.
Motion made by Mr. Andres Rodriguez and seconded by Frank Rodriguez. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Item number 14. Consider act on city manager official rationale for holding Mr. Humberto Morales' legal opinion relative to release of information of those contents significant influence or discussion permanent to confidentiality, of certain information during the call meeting of June 4, 2013, and those primary objectives was to discuss the sale of water, including, in part, the list of buyers. I believe this was just the information that was withheld was just to inform us about the legal standpoint of what can happen to us if we do put information out there that they can come back and buy us. But it wasn't anything having to do with exactly
legal
with the water.
opinion, I met with Mr. Garcia prior to that special meeting, and I asked him to get it. We were discussing the confidentiality status of certain information. And my response was, I'm not an attorney and neither are you. Let's get a legal opinion from our city attorney. So I asked him to do that. He said, but you need to get it before the special meeting. We met on a Friday, the meeting was on a Tuesday, on June the 4th. My concern, the night of the meeting, that we sat here discussing intensely as to whether or not certain information was confidential under the law or not. Whether or not it was subject to the Open Records Act. And there was still a question. Well, during the course of the discussion, I alluded to Mr. Morales regarding that particular opinion. He said he had sent it. And my response was, where is it? I haven't seen it. And my point is this. We should have received that legal opinion prior to that special meeting. We got it after the fact. I didn't need the legal opinion for this meeting. I needed the opinion for last meeting. Mr. Garcia's response was that he planned to present it at the June 11th meeting. And that's after the fact. That's ex post facto. That's after the fact. I don't need that opinion tonight. I already read it and I know exactly what it says. My question, sir, very simple, straightforward. I want you to give me an answer as to why that opinion was not in our packet. You received it on May the 30th.
Because I asked him not to put it on the agenda.
Well,
That's why.
No, it wasn't on the, didn't have to be on the agenda. I'm referring to the packet.
Well, I asked him not to place them in the packet, that's why. they
That
weren't there.
opinion was relevant to the discussion regarding the sale of water. That opinion should have been in the
It wasn't about the sales
packet.
of water, it was about confidentiality.
Mayor, you're not the person in question here. I'm asking
I'm
this
just
man.
letting you know,
I will
sir.
answer that question if I, okay? The legal opinion, as I mentioned, was, I'm just going to give to you this meeting, you already have it in your hands prior to this meeting. However, that had nothing to do with the meeting because you requested information. You got every bit of information that you requested based on that legal opinion. I can understand your concern if I had not complied with the request and complied with the legal opinion that I received. Now, you want to slap my hand for making a miscall in judgment, but my focus was on the fact of giving you the information with respect to water sales, with respect to names of industrial customers based on legal opinion. As Mr. Morales said, we had a difference of opinion. He gave me a legal opinion and said, give them everything they want. And I did so by providing that report. I can't control whether you like the report or not, but that is the report that takes into consideration everything that was asked for. It has nothing to do with the legal opinion, because you got everything that he said would be released, and I did so.
Let me read to you what it's in part. It said 280 Morales to Brian Narvaez. It's dated May the 30th. Okay? It's a distribution and mention of confidential information. And it quotes several of the statutes, but I'm just gonna read the conclusion, and that is actually the meat of the debate. And this is what I was arguing. I'm gonna read it. It says the information requested by the owner is not confidential under the Act. However, even if the requested information were confidential, the alderman has an inherent right, not just a simple right, but an inherent right of access to such information so long as it was requested in their official capacity. I requested it in my official capacity. And don't make the issue, sir. Okay, now let me finish. Now let me finish. Don't interrupt me. I requested this opinion. We got it. You got it before the actual meeting. It's dated May 30th. The special meeting was held on June the 4th. Correct? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you tell me why I couldn't get my hands on this report until after.
Building permit fees in the amount of $185 for residential construction.
I believe this had been tabled, and again, I do believe that $185 is a lot of money, and I am referring to complaints from the residents, citizens, and I can understand. I believe that if we were to go to $50 that was discussed, and that is for remodeling, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't agree on a fee for a new construction of a new home or business. And I believe those could go up to $285, depending on the size of the home. But we still haven't met to work on that. We were supposed to get together and work on it. So we also need to, on the next meeting, special meeting, touch on this, because we need to take care of it soon.
I would recommend a special workshop for that, so that we can be able to discuss further.
Fine, as soon as possible.
Okay. I had the time to
A 72 hour. Go ahead.
I had decided to put on the agenda, it's my understanding, and I probably will reiterate what some of you just said, but my understanding that this particular item was tabled sometime back. I brought it forth because I think we need to address it. I would have to question the total validity of this entire ordinance. Are we prepared to discuss it, or am I wasting my time?
I believe we just agreed on having a special meeting, just a workshop, so we can all work together to find out what it is we want to do, because we have not only residential, but commercial.
If the council wishes to do that, I'll go along with that, as long as we address this matter in due time.
This building permit was made up by our
Not a problem.
attorneys, they're the ones who put it together for us.
If I may, just for information to the council, this ordinance has been in effect for quite some time. It was in effect before I even came on board. The only thing that was changed on the ordinance was the amount of the fee. And the reason that was done in the previous council is because we had a situation where individuals, because it was on a sliding scale, individuals would come in and say, I'm only spending $1,500 on remodeling. And a month later, we go by that place and it's now a 6-bedroom home, 2 stories with a patio in the back. But when they pull the permit, $1,500 would average probably about $35 on the sliding scale. That's what their permit cost. So that's why we went to a fixed rate, because it was, the ordinance was being abused. And people were saying, well, I'm just building a 9-by-9 shed, and next thing you know, you got 4 or 5 bedroom homes sitting in the backyard. So that's the history on this ordinance.
Yeah, when were you hired?
In 03?
03?
Yes.
not believe the workshop is gonna take care of all that. You've already touched on that before, and, we've all, said what we feel. We need to get together, work together, and decide on something soon.
I don't disagree with you, Madam Councilwoman. I think that's a non-exorbitant. I think it's outlandish. $185 is way beyond the means of most people in this community. I'd be stressed out to pay $185 for a building permit. And I know there's a lot of people in this community that share my sentiments. Mr. Garcia, 2003, you said? You were hired in 2003?
Mr.
No,
President,
because, wait a minute, that can't be. I was there in 2000.
I'm sorry, 2008, I apologize.
There you go. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. You gotta excuse me, I'm on.
I thought I was becoming senile or something there for me.
That's 2008.
Thank you.
Right.
so we asked to have a workshop for building permits. I believe as soon as possible, whenever we have that,
Well,
to our gap.
What I want to ask is if the council members would individually give me 3 or 4 days, dates that there are in fact available, and I will make sure that the largest number of council members can be present on a particular day. If you'll give me 3 or 4 days if you are available in writing, that way I can match it up and schedule a meeting.
Mr. Garcia, if I might suggest, why don't you throw some dates out there and choose one other than that? I'm free.
Hey, one thing though, before we start, I'm all for getting rid of this $185 and maybe go to something lower, we'll discuss that. But at the same time, we have to look at the budget. But remember, y'all want to buy new trucks. You got to pay for those. We need to look at the budget and see where we stand. We're supposed to do a budget workshop midway through the fiscal year. That hasn't happened.
That's true.
So maybe those two things can be hand in hand.
I'm very cognizant of the financial situation of the city. Trust me. But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that $185 is an exorbitant amount of money.
I agree with you.
I'm not necessarily going to go for total abolishment of this ordinance, but I really would like to see it revised to an amount that's reasonable. And how do you define reasonable?
But it should go hand in hand with our budget. Because remember, we're every part of paying our bills.
Can we go ahead and do the budget and a building permit workshop together, so we can work over them and see where we stand?
Well, as some of you in the council know, that I usually start requesting workshops for the upcoming budget. Usually in the latter part of June, we go through July, and I usually have it wrapped up by August. So if you want to go and revisit the current budget, certainly do that. But I would think that planning for the future, we can certainly look at the upcoming budget. Because that's where it's going to have an impact. Whatever council decides will have a direct impact on the upcoming budget.
Are you scheduling budget workshops anytime soon?
No, sir, I have not.
Is that a matter of practice, or do you prepare the budget yourself?
No, what we do is I take the numbers on the current budget, actually take the expenses, and I work out a draft budget to give the council something to work with. It is not a set in stone. I just said, here's what we got coming in, here's what we spent, here's what I suggest. Then in the workshops, the council takes it apart and makes whatever changes are necessary.
Okay.
We will take no motion on this item. to have a workshop scheduled for the
Scheduled for what?
building permits.
Oh,
Okay, item number 6.
Mayor.
Yes.
Before we go on, let me just repeat what I said earlier. I hope that we can have this workshop in a reasonable period of time.
Like by next week. If we go and let them know what days we're available, we can have that next week. I don't see a problem with why we couldn't.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Item number 16, consider act on the report of city manager regarding the status of the annual audit process and consider hiring an independent auditor.
Mayor,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Mr. Ortega, what I'd like is just a report from you on the audit process. Are we up to date? And if so, then we need to proceed with the annual audit, for the current annual audit. But I don't know where we're at, that's why.
Let me give you some history with regards to it. When I took over this job, this city was 2 years behind on audits. Okay? I've been playing catch up ever since. Now, you cannot complete, say for example, an audit for this year if you're still haven't completed the other. So we've been working on that. One of the issues, and you may not be aware of, but I know the rest of the council is we have an issue with getting the information the way it's posted. Our accountants posted that it's hard to do. And what the Alvin Carter, the actual CPAs, the audit firm, the way they account for many is not the way that they like to see it. So there's a lot of going back and doing work, and basically, I guess, in a CPA's term is reclassifying some of those expenditures. For example, we on not a daily basis, but occasionally, we have to transfer funds from one account to another, from operations to utility or vice versa. Well, that transaction, we keep record of. We do it in the bank electronically, and we keep that information. The accountant that we currently have does not use that information. However, when we go for an audit, Dell and Carter require that information. We have it available, but our accountant doesn't use it. So when we do an audit, they have to go back, and I'm talking to the accountant, goes back and manually catches up on that report, so Dell and Carter can do their work. I mentioned to the council several times that I have gone out and looked at other accountants, and that price is exorbitant as far as trying to get someone else that would come in and I guess you would say, would do the reporting. We pay Hartman Newsom $1,500 a month, and that is far below what most accountants are requesting. However, as mentioned, that when we get into some of the other aspects, we would require certain databases and certain criteria to keep track of these funds that are coming in. I have worked with and had a demonstration done on a software that does everything that our accountant does. For example, if we write a check to pay the city water bill, it automatically populates all in the correct data. So when it comes time for an audit, all we would have to do is download it onto a CD, give it to that company, and they would have all the information. And however, the only problem with that software, just to get it installed, it's cost $8,000.
Sometime in the year 2011, I'm just throwing this out to reflect on. Sometime in 2011, I requested a copy of the most recent audit through the under the auspices of the open record.
Yes.
Okay. What I got was a copy of the 2007 audit.
That's correct.
Okay, now, how many annual audits have we completed? Where exactly are we? Are we at 2011, 2012? Where are
We
we?
are currently doing the 10 and 11. So we're 12 and 13, it's coming up. So we are actually still behind on the audits.
And who's doing these audits?
As I mentioned before, Leal and Carter.
Who?
Leal and Carter. Leal, Carter. Two
And they're-
last names.
they're up
That's
to
a firm
San
out of
Antonio.
San Antonio.
Okay, will that apply with this right here?
I'm sorry.
Will that apply with them?
Well, it's not their issue. It's the issue from over here. Yes, and what Mr. Carter advised me is that is what's holding up the process. Now, they figure they would take another 2 to 3 weeks to complete the current audit they're working on and then present it to the council. At which time, they will then, the city council has exercised the option of contracting them again for the same price as before, and that is $12,000 they charge us. And we exercised that option last year, and have them continue to pick up in the next audit bid.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes, sir.
who generates this report? The one that
It comes from Hardin and Newsom, the accountant.
they're still doing it.
Yes, sir.
This one is September 30, 2012, statement of revenue and expenses.
Yes, sir.
And they do this on a monthly basis.
Yes, yes, sir, they do it on a monthly basis, but as you can well see, and as mentioned before, a number of times, they are behind. And
How far behind are they?
I have spent numerous days there trying to get this squared away.
Yeah, because this is dated September the 30th, 2012.
Yes, sir.
So they are way behind.
Yes, sir. Believe me, if I could get that software, believe me, that would be the first thing I do. We would not need the accounting services because of the way the software operates. And some of the staff inside has gone through the demonstration on this and actually worked on the system. And it is so easy to do. It's fail-safe. You make a mistake with a decimal point in the wrong place, that whole screen lights up red, and you know you made a mistake and won't let you go further until you find it. So it's a real sophisticated software. I've actually seen it work in the city of Rock Springs. They adopted that because they were having the same issues with their accounts.
Did the council hire Leon and Carter?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall what year or when?
The first year of COVID.
Boy,
Yes, sir. That's
they've been doing it.
Yes,
They've been doing it slowly. Because Hardin and Newsom used to do audit
Yes, sir.
at one point in time.
Yes, sir. And
Matter of fact, they did the monthly statement and the audit, which I objected to, but it fell on deaf ears.
well, that was, yeah, they can no longer, can't do that. So, when I got here, I knew that could not continue. So that's why I came before the council. And I sent out for bids, and Yal and Carter were subsequently hired and have been doing it since.
So the council hire this firm. Okay, I need to.
They approved that, yes, sir.
They approved.
Yes, sir.
So the best solution for us to do is to find someone besides Newsom who can help us when we get our stuff done.
Well, yeah, and I can certainly seek out bids for an accountant for the city of Brackettville and see what kind of lights I get. Now, the last time I looked at this, a couple of the questions that were asked was, what are you willing to pay? And I said, we currently pay this. He said, I won't even get you the front door. So, and I didn't go any further. I knew, this was fruitless there. But, council request, I can certainly send out for formal bids and see what we get.
I think that would be the best thing to do is try to bid for someone else to see if we can get the audits done faster. I know Herman, this would give us a pretty good rate right now, but the work's not being done.
That's
So
right.
it would be great to see if we can have anybody else interested to take over what we need to have done. So
I have approached the owners on several occasions. It works okay for a while and then goes back to the old. And believe me, Mr. Carter is highly frustrated and is often communicating and they're just not getting the information.
maybe
And
they
time with that.
recommend somebody that they can work with that might help us out.
That was going to be my first approach, see if he had any ideas of small businesses or small accountants that could do this work for us. It's really not that complicated. It's just putting us in the front rather than the back row. And I think that's an issue that we have. I can go forward if you'd like. Setting up the bids, that's the council.
I think that'd be a good idea. Bid for CPA. If we go out and look for bids for a new CPA, that way we no longer have to deal with Harlan Newsom. We can find someone else who's able to come in and work and get our audits done at a faster pace. And if we can approve Mr. Garcia's.
People are not doing their jobs, yeah. I mean, there's no excuse for being this far behind. There really is no acceptable excuse in my mind. By law, we're supposed to be current, and by law. That's not philosophical, it's by law.
Believe me, I'm well aware of that.
Before we require a use them, can we contact them and find out what the heck's going on? Maybe there's a reason there behind it.
Correct.
As I mentioned,
Hiring a new CPA and everything's fine and dandy, but we gotta have a way right now, this stuff back in September, that's all we use. We need to find out what the heck's going on right now with our funds. The council's got an obligation.
Would you like to have Harlan Newsom sit on our next agenda so that he can come down and explain to us what's going on? Would that be appropriate for them to come down and have their explain to the council?
I can make that request.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they can let us know what's going on. It's
They're not gonna give us the current information.
that will help us get it set to where we can go ahead and start
How
looking for
much does that
extras.
cost us?
Yes, sir.
I don't,
It's a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
Who is your contact person at Newsom, Harlan Newsom?
well, would be Allison, Allison Resenel, Rosenew, Allison, being a first name.
Allison?
Yes.
She was here also when you were mayor. She's been with us for a long time.
When she was back in 2014. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, she took, you recall when, I think when you were mayor,
Yeah.
she was there, she took Francis' place. And where Francis used to do that paperwork, and when Francis left, Allison took over.
She's good. She's good at work.
We haven't any action taken on this item.
I wanted a report, I got a report.
If we could just have Ms. Allison come down, let Ms. Meeting.
I'll make the request.
Thank
Yes,
you. On item number 16, we now move down to item number 17. Consider an act on a report by city manager regarding the employment process used to hire the chief of police. And this was another item that you requested.
I
correct?
requested, would you like me to address it?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Let me give you my rationale to put this item on the agenda. I was under the impression that the police department had been abolished back in February 2011. That was my impression. Mr. Garcia tells me that the program, that the department was not abolished, but it was suspended. And employees were laid off at the time. My question was, to what level does this suspension, does it rise to a level that requires council action to have it reinstated? And their attorney is here, maybe she can answer that question. What is the difference? I understand the difference between the suspension and abolishment, okay? They're two different concepts, but my question to you is, should the council have, by vote, officially reinstated the department if it was suspended?
Mayor and Council, again, Katrina Lawyer, from the City Attorney's Office. With respect to the suspension, I don't think that our office was involved at that time with respect to the specific action taken. In all likelihood, it was a budgetary issue with respect to the budget put in place. Am I correct in that respect? That it was a budget issue?
Yes.
The suspension?
Yes.
So with a budgetary issue, basically to reinstate, it would have required the adoption or amendment to a budget, an existing budget, to bring it back into place. In other words, it was suspended because the budget was insufficient to meet the requirements of the department. It could be reinstated by the council at any point with either a budgetary amendment or for adoption of the new budget to hire such an amendment.
It's my understanding, Mr. Garcia, that the program was budgeted for, therefore it was, for all practical purposes, reinstated. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, sir. In August of 12, I had a budget workshop. I approached the council that would be required for their project. As soon as I received that from them, I will share it with the council. And what I've done before is once I understand and I see their needs, I contact the local workforce group, and they send people out and start interviewing and making sure that we get the skill levels that we need. I'll give you an example. You're in a wind farm. We identified a lot of local individuals that they needed a lot of heavy equipment operators, and we didn't have that skill here. So through Middle Rio Grande and the help of the company, we sent some folks down to the junior college and taught them how to drive big tractors. The same thing with, they required a lot of Class A license. We sent folks to go past training on do a thing, CDL, which is well done. So that was the purpose of our meeting last night, and I think we make some big inroads with the fact that they committed to hire within the skill level that they needed local people, which is a tremendous help for us. As I mentioned earlier also, there's a strong possibility that there will be additional wind turbines located in the general vicinity of what is out on the southeast of the town, in the county. I need to remind council members that you're required to attend a class and review a video within 90 days of being elected on the Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. Now, you can go on the Attorney General's website, and there is a link that allows you to watch both of these at your convenience. And once you've completed that, it will print out a certificate, and then you bring it into the city, and into the city hall, and we'll put it in your files to show that you have complied. I'd like to make a friendly reminder to all the council members. Some of you have already completed this. For federal funds, with respect to Homeland Security, it is required that city government leaders take a class in what is called Incident Management Systems, or National Incident Management System, NIMS. And the courses are ICS 100 and 200. Both courses are online. And council members, you're only required to take that. The mayor and I are required to take 100, 200, 300, 400, 700, and 800. And what the importance of this is the fact that should we have a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, if we need assistance from the state or the federal level, being in compliance moves you up the list. They'll still help you out, but if you're not in compliance, you might be 45th on the list rather than second on the list for help. So you would have, you get a quicker response. So that is really the importance of that. Same thing if we were ever to go for grant funding for, say, special emergency notices or anything of that nature, and it required a grant, and it was federal or state money. If we weren't compliant, we wouldn't be eligible to submit for that funding. So that's why it's important that we comply. And both of these are online. The 300 and 400 are not online, Mayor, but in August of this year, the training will be brought to Brackettville. I don't know exactly where the location is going to be when the training will occur, but we will have that training located. 700 and 800 are online courses. One of the reasons, I know there was comments made earlier regarding paying bills and that sort of stuff, and where's the money going, projects not being completed. Let me just address one thing. Just an example, and the legal staff, I don't mean to single you out, but when you look at the cost, we have a budget, and when we require attorney services, we don't have them on retainer, it's on demand. We budgeted, I believe, somewhere around the $3,000, $4,000 in the current budget. We have paid over $28,000 in legal fees. That's one of the reasons that money gets eaten up. The water sales money, a lot of it went there. We have to pay that bill. They certainly wouldn't be here if we weren't current. I believe currently open, we have about $6,000 to $7,000 in a bill current that we haven't paid. So those are some of the reasons that the money falls short. We had some relief when we no longer have to repair the aging vehicles that we have. That is certainly has cut down that quite a bit. So that's something. With respect to projects, when I got here, the city was paying $1,000 a day to have a contractor do the gas work. I was able to negotiate with the Railroad Commission and ask them to hold back on implementing the fine of $5,000 a day because our gas system was not compliant. One of the other things I did is I released that contractor, and for $6,000 I brought it all in-house with equipment and training. The contractor was laying 150 feet of pipe a week. Our folks are laying 1,500 feet and more a week. Now, I don't have a crew that is strictly assigned to gas because we have all the other things that we need to do. One of the things that held us back on the gas was when we did the $350,000 step grant project to replace all the water mains. We put in 24 new fire hydrants. So we do complete projects. The replacement of the gas line was a long-term project, and the Railroad Commission has backed off because the first year, to give you an example, the first year we had a gas unaccounted for loss. As far as unaccounted for gas, we had a number of 89% of unaccounted for gas. The second year after the guys started doing this, the following year, we had it down to 2%. This last inspection that we had by the Railroad Commission, we had 0.08 loss. So we are making progress. Yeah, there's pipes sticking out of the ground. But we will finish this job. What we did was attack the areas of the city that were what I call the bad actors. They're the ones that give us the trouble. And that shows that that's the correct thing to do, because even though we still have some old lines in the ground, that loss has gone away. We fixed our problems. Now we just need to finish that project, and we will. Because keep in mind, there isn't a dime of grant money that is being used for that. This is strictly being done by local revenue. That's it.
Mr. Arcina, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that we had several $1,000 budgeted for attorney fees, and we're at 28,000.
Yeah, that includes, sir, if I make it fun, that includes past elections. The last election we had, there were several issues that had to be addressed by legal counsel. And as much as I try to do a lot of it, I am not an attorney, so I know my limitations.
We're going to incur attorney fees, okay?
There's no question about it.
It's a necessary,
Yes,
you know,
but
we got to have it.
But we need to be careful. We can't pick up the phone, and I may be misquoted here, but I believe the current fee is $250 an hour or something like that. I believe what it rolls down to is $250 an hour, broken up in 15-minute here.
Well, they're not inexpensive, okay? We all know that.
So,
My question, I was getting to a question. All right, we started off with 7,000 Right now, we're at 28,000. And obviously, you've amended the budget, correct?
I have to pay the bills.
I understand.
So when you look at the budget, you will see over expenses on a certain item.
I don't have a problem with amending the budget, okay? This is my concern. Are these budget amendments brought to the council for approval?
No, sir.
They should.
Well, the way I look at it, sir, if I have a bill to pay, I need to pay that bill.
I understand that. I'm not gonna dispute that. That's not my point of dispute. I'm saying that at any time, under generally accepted accounting principles, if you're gonna amend the budget, you gotta get approval from the governing body. Or at some point in time, they should be notified.
And they have been notified. Council has been notified that.
I haven't been here long enough to see it, but I'll be looking for it.
All right,
Thank you.
not a problem. Yes, sir.
About 5 weeks ago, Mr. Bassett attended a presentation in regards to healthcare employees. There we go. You hear me now?
Yes.
Anyways, about 5 weeks ago, Mr. Bassett and myself attended a presentation in regards to health insurance for employees and the effects of Obamacare and whatnot.
Yes.
Can you give us an update on where we're at?
Right now, I'm waiting to hear from the broker with respect to the last minute rules that are going to apply and that come into effect January 1. And this is the health care. Some of you know it better as Obamacare. In that presentation, there are, if we continue like the way the city has it set up, we will be, our insurance bill would just outrageous. We currently pay about $585 per employee for insurance. And one of the options that is being looked at is allowing the employees to seek their insurance from the clearinghouse, that's what it's being called, and on their own. And the city council or the city budget a certain flat rate that says, okay, this goes towards your premium. For example, the employees in the city of Brackettville do not meet the level of salary that keeps them from receiving a subsidy from the federal government that goes towards their insurance premiums that they select from the clearinghouse. So let's, for example, their premium for an individual is $100. They get $60 subsidy from the federal government. That means they got $40 left to pay on that premium. If the city says, okay, across the board, every employee of the city will receive $20 towards their insurance, the city will pay $20 towards your insurance premium. That particular employee would wind up paying $20 a month for insurance. That's just an example of a single employee. It could vary. Now there is one thing left in this puzzle that hasn't been decided yet by the federal government, and that's why I'm waiting for Mary to let me know and give us the full package. What I intend to do, as soon as she gets all this information together, I'm going to ask her to come in and make a presentation. And if it's okay with the council, I would like to open that up to every employer in this community, because it will affect them also. So we can make it like a public service, regardless of who you are, that she could give you the complete synopsis of what is entailed, and it would affect every employer in this community. Yes, sir.
How does this affect the council? It's not the council, it's the employees.
It's strictly employees. We carry no medical insurance for council. You have life and accidental insurance, but that is not affected. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. There was a deadline. We actually had.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have to have that, we have to decide by September 1st what we're going to do. Now, between September 1st, the new budget, and January 1st, we have to basically stay the old way. We have to decide, in this budget workshop, we have to decide two separate scenarios. Between September 1 and January 1, one scenario. January 1, we have to look at it in a different. Explain that to everybody, because I personally tried to read up on that, and I just got more confused. Because the paperwork on that just keeps repeating itself and referring back to something that you read 12 pages before. And it's a lot of information. And she breaks it down in a PowerPoint presentation and answer specific questions. So as soon as I have that information, and if the council's okay with it, I'll open it up to every employer in the city and the county. I think it would be helpful,
Yes, sir.
because it applies to everyone.
I think we're already that with the city employees.
That's only for the city employees.
Oh, he said he was going to it up for, he was going to it up for city and county employees. I think
No, just
we're
like-
making those decisions for the city employees. We should keep it limited to the city employees.
It's just for other businesses to come in so they can take the opportunity to use their insurance as well. It wouldn't be involved with the city, but to let her talk to other businesses for their.
What, their location?
Yeah, just for
Their
other
location?
business, yes, their location, that, with us. Yes, sir. I would like to thank all citizens who did sign the letter of support for our, grant that was not approved. So, thank you, citizens. Is there anything else? Okay, I'll call for adjournment. Motion by Ms. Hernandez and second by Mr. Garza. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Meeting is adjourned. 8:41, and today is June 11, 2013.
And ask them to, in my proposed budget, show to continue to fund the police department, at which time the council went along and they budgeted money for the police department along with the municipal court. In September of 18.
Can I interrupt you for a
Yes,
second?
sir.
So, it was included in the budget,
Yes, sir.
therefore, it was, for all practical purposes, reinstated.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, let's see.
And in September of that same year, September 18th meeting, that budget with that line item was in fact approved by the council. Okay?
So when, I was not present at the time, but when Ms. Peña made the motion to dissolve the police department, that did not dissolve the police department.
No, ma'am. It basically suspended the operation of the police department because when it was reinstated in the budget, I went through the process of calling T-Close to make sure that we were current. And T-Close advised me that in their books, there had not been a break, that we were a legal agency to legally operating a police department. We were listed in their database and they have, I forget the term they use, but the number assigned that says you are a legal agency to operate. So there was never a break official. It was just a suspension on that department and then of course reinstated with the budget.
So it reinstated, Leo back into the police department, police officer, or did he get fired?
He didn't get fired, no, sir.
He was laid off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like to see that agenda item, and I would like to see the minutes of that meeting. Apparently, there's some semantics involved here, okay? As to whether or not it was, the term was abolished, suspension, whatever it was. What word did you use, Ms. Munoz? Dissolved,
That's what
okay,
it
well,
said,
dissolved.
dissolved.
I'd like to see the exact terminology used. Okay? But in any case, it was included in the budget, the council approved the budget, therefore, it becomes a moot issue as far as I'm concerned. Okay? So we can go on with your presentation. We talked about the hiring process. I was curious about.
Your question was there a vacancy advertised?
Right, I asked you if you posted a notice, and you said no.
No, sir. We don't, the city of Brackettville has had the policy ever since I've been here, that we accept applications, any and all applications, throughout the year. We do not turn anyone back, whether we have an opening or not. We accept applications, whether it's for inside staff, public works, police department, anything that, dog catcher, we accept those applications. And we have them on file. We have a vacancy, we take a look, or I take a look at those applications, and based on the qualifications that we're looking for, we select, or I select, well, if it's public works, I pick out some applications, I send them over to David, he takes a look at it, and he either agrees with all of them or breaks it down even further. And then that's what we do. But I use the same process for every employee, regardless of what department it is.
So you have a cumulative list of potential employees that you maintain, is that correct?
I have their applications. I don't have it on a list per se.
I'll address this question to the attorney. What does the law say in terms of advertising vacancies?
There is no Texas law that requires the advertisement of a vacancy in any particular format. However, all the guidance with respect to the appropriate employment practices with respect to local government entities will encourage publication at a minimum at a local level, and depending on the qualifications for the specific vacancy, to be published outside of the local area as well if the vacancy or the position requires.
What you're telling me is that it's a generally accepted practice to advertise these positions.
That is correct, but it is not required by state law. The only thing that I haven't looked at, just because it's been a very long time since I looked at the Brackettville ordinances and policies with respect to personnel, I'm not sure if the personnel policy or ordinances we have in place with respect to the personnel have any specific provisions on that. I'll have to look at that and get back to council on that issue.
Then my next question, do we have an adopted, established hiring procedure that requires posting of all vacancies? Because when I was mayor, we posted all vacancies. When I was the superintendent of school, we posted all vacancies.
My recollection, again, I'm just working off of recollection, Chica and Sandra knows me a lot since I've been in Brackettville. But my recollection is that we do have a written policy with respect to personnel hiring and firing. I'm not sure what that personnel policy says.
Would you look that up
Yes.
for me?
Yes.
I believe it's there. And I believe it requires posting of all vacancies.
I will look into that and provide a memo to council with respect to that issue.
All right, now we can proceed. So it wasn't posted. You had a cumulative file of prospective applicants, and you told me that there were 4 people that you considered and 3 were disqualified. Is that correct?
No, sir. I had 4 applicants, 2 of which requested after they submitted the application, requested not to be considered. And the third was not, the phone number that I had on the application was not current. And then, of course, we had Mr. Chambers. And so that's what I need to review based on the application. That he was more than qualified.
So you had one applicant, you interviewed one applicant for this position.
That is correct, sir.
And you hired him.
Yes, sir.
Did the council approve the hiring?
The council before, well, let me go this way. The issue that the council had prior to the situation, let me put it this way, the situation the council had with previous employment in the police department was the fact that that particular employee refused to report to the city manager and was approaching council members individually. In essence, had 6 different supervisors. At that time, council had asked Mr. Morales about that situation, and I believe Mayor was there, and she could read with her. And he advised the council to not continue with the practice of administering or being administrators of the police department, or any employee for that matter, that would circumvent the process as far as the daily operations of the city. The council, upon hiring me, had stated that I run the daily operations of the city. The council was a legislative policy-making branch, and I am this position that I hold is the daily administrator of the daily operations of the city. And that encompasses hiring and firing all employees.
I understand. The city manager of form of government. I understand that initially the city of Brackettville was a general law type head. At some point in time, there was a transfer over to the city manager form of government, which I never understood. And to this day, I don't understand. But I'm not going to get into that at this point. I'm going to save that for another day. Okay. The thing is, under the city manager form of government, yes, you do have the right to hire and fire. And I asked you, is that specifically and explicitly stated in writing, approved by the council, whether it be in the charter, or whether it be in the form of an ordinance, or whatever the case may be?
We have a resolution.
Pardon me?
A resolution?
There is a resolution?
Yes, there is a
Okay.
resolution, yes,
And if
sir.
there is, I would like to see that. Would you please, and I asked you this at the meeting, would you please give me a copy? And I will be happy.
I think all the council members would like to copy of it.
Pardon me?
I think all the council members would want a copy of it.
Yeah, okay, well.
If we could put a copy of all the resolution in everybody's box, please. Is there any more questions on this item?
I'm done.
We're done? All right. Okay, we now move to no action taken on item number 17. We're going to move down to city manager's report, item number 18. Mr. Rozier?
Reiterate what I mentioned earlier. The mayor and I met with the summer energy representatives, and that project, as I mentioned, is quite a large project, 40 acres of that being in the city limits. What we did find out that currently, even though they have leased that part of the land, they currently have no plans for the 40 acres that are within the city limits.
Mr. Garcia, I don't follow you. I don't know what you're talking about.
The solar panel project.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You gotta excuse me, I don't hear very well.
That's right. The project itself is on 334 Campwood Highway, adjacent to the substation, Rio Grande Electric substation. It's 300 some odd acres, 40 units within city limits. But as of last night, we were told that they currently have no no plans to do anything with the 40 acres. Mayor and I were concerned with the fact that the infrastructure that